Hello there. What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about Legion and sprues, hard plastic sprues. What's going on with these? If you're maybe a newer player and you just picked up the Galactic Civil War core set, you may notice that your miniatures are not on sprues, but other miniatures are. We'll talk about that a little bit. Also, the possibility of reprints and all things surrounding that. So that's going to be the topic of today's video. Make sure if you are a new viewer here, make sure you're entered to win that $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. Also, make sure you click in the like and share the video, and check out the links in the description. There's great information down there. You follow me on social media. Check my website, free AI system for Legion, Patreon, t-shirt shop, and my Discord. Great community to join. Ask questions about the game, talk to other people, share your paint jobs. There's a painting contest running all throughout June also, so check out all that stuff. It's in the video description below. So we're going to talk about sprues today. Hard plastic, soft plastic, what's going on there? So Legion's been out for a couple of years now, and ever since the Clone Wars came out, we saw the introduction of hard plastic, which was a big contrast to the softer type of plastic that Star Wars Legion minis had been kind of coming out with. And this was, it wasn't a super soft plastic. We're not talking like silly putty here, but it was a softer plastic that, you know, used a kind of a different type of glue, and it allowed for like less detail on the minis. I mean, it was still a good type of plastic. You know, Imperial Assault used to use this kind of plastic also, and Fantasy Flight games had used that type of plastic for years, but they wanted to get into a higher level of detail and strength of material, and with the battle droids, the B1 battle droids, that marked kind of the need to, let's take a step up and increase the quality and strength of our miniatures. And thus, you know, here we got our first set that had miniatures on sprues in this new hard plastic, but it wasn't all of the miniatures. You just had the droids that were in, the separatists that were in hard plastic, and then the clones were still in soft plastic at the time of the Clone Wars core set. And you know, in the coming year after that, we saw the eventual phasing out of all soft plastic expansions. I think was Count Dooku, maybe it was the last one, or maybe Count Dooku was the first human to be in hard plastic. But right around the time of like that first wave after the Clone Wars core set, we started to see everything come in hard plastic, even for Stormtroopers and Rebel Troopers and all of that other stuff. So now everything that comes out for Star Wars Legion is in a hard plastic sprue. So if you're a newer player and you're getting into Star Wars Legion and you buy maybe some of the older stuff, you know, like maybe Rebel Commandos or Imperial Scout Troopers or a lot of those older expansions, you might notice that the plastic is of a different quality, and your bits come in little bags instead of being on a frame, and you don't have to cut those out. That would be why that is the case. But moving forward, everything that comes out is going to be on those hard plastic sprues or frames that require your sprue cutters. And so this is, you know, around the time that Clone Wars was being talked about, you know, years ago when it was still under Fantasy Flight's control, there was some talk about the intent to go back in and redo all of the old expansions in a hard plastic. And you know, I think we're starting to see some things now that kind of lean more towards that actually becoming more of a possibility. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen right away, but I think there's a definite chance that something like that is going to happen, because with the inclusion of some of the newer waves, dual faction releases, it gives them an opportunity to kind of release some certain units for multiple factions that can now kind of fit that bill. And what I'm talking about here, first and foremost, is the Wookies. You know, Wookiee Warriors were a special forces expansion for the Rebels that came out years ago in that soft plastic, and they're great. There's nothing wrong with them. But now we're getting a Wookiee Warriors expansion for the Republic that's actually a dual faction pack, and we're going to get more information on this probably later this month and into next month, and hopefully I think they're going to be coming out sometime between the end of July is when you know, some of this whole Kashyyyk based wave that's coming out is going to start coming out, and we're going to be getting more news on this very, very soon. So stay tuned for that as well, because as new information comes out, I'll be bringing it to you. but this is a great way for them to, do a reprint of an old expansion and give the Rebels all of the stuff that they already had in a higher quality on a sprue, but also give the Republic a whole new unit. And it's giving a lot of value for one expansion, in that it's got like 2 different ways for the unit to be run, and it runs also for 2 different factions, and it also meets the requirement of saying, hey, we said we wanted to do reprints and kind of bring everything into the hard plastic arena. Here's a way for us to do that. So I think that's pretty cool. And now, granted, not every unit is going to be able to fit this kind of a bill and kind of do that same thing. But they've kind of like you couldn't give Stormtroopers to other factions, right? But they've kind of tiptoed into that arena a little bit. When we look at the original Stormtrooper pack, and then we saw the Stormtrooper upgrade expansion, which was one of the first Imperial expansions to come on a sprue in the new hard plastic. And this kind of made it pretty evident that, like, man, the increase in quality was really clear and very pronounced, and it was a good step up. And this was maybe the first time I said, they really need to redo all the old expansions in the hard plastic, and that would be awesome. Although that would be probably difficult for a lot of people to rebuy everything. Now, the cool thing about something like this is it wouldn't be like how it wouldn't be like a second edition, like X-Wing. When the game X-Wing Miniatures kind of went to their second edition, they kind of did something like that, where they said they were going to reprint all the old first edition stuff in second edition. It's been a couple of years. That still hasn't happened. That's kind of stalled. I'm not sure if that's even going to happen now that AMG has taken over. It's unclear if the demand is really there for 100% of those ships to be reprinted. But I know that there is demand for some of it. But then again, a lot of people might feel like, wait, are they gonna? Is this a second edition? Do I have to buy the hard plastic versions now? Like, what if I can't afford that? And I think, at least in the case of Star Wars Legion, you would not have to do that. There's no requirement for you to upgrade your plastic, and so it would be more of an aesthetic thing if you wanted to do that. I don't know if they'll come up with some other clever ways to get people more Stormtroopers, because you could always just take these guys and run those as regular Stormtroopers, but that's a problem, just because they are all, different heavy, like they're all specialty units. So there could be some confusion if you've got a bunch of heavy weapon Stormtroopers walking around in the battlefield, posing as normal standard Stormtroopers. But of course, you're supposed to be able to run them that way, because they come with a whole unit card for purposes like that. But either way, it's a really cool idea and way for them to kind of showcase, here's what hard plastic Stormtroopers would look like. And they did this for all of the factions, but it was really a bigger deal for the Empire and the Rebels too, having some new stuff. Now, granted, the Rebels are all kind of ragtag and aren't as a big a deal with the crisp, clean lines that the Stormtroopers happen to be. So I thought this was a fantastic example of kind of showing us what it might look like if they do re-release Stormtroopers in hard plastic, or come up with maybe an alternative. And that's kind of one of the big things is that I would love to hear from you guys is, first off, let me know in the comments if they re-released a hard plastic Stormtrooper variant box. And all it was an alternate reprinting of Stormtroopers in a hard plastic, with no difference, the same stuff that you'd normally have for Stormtroopers, and just a hard plastic version. Maybe they're in alternate poses. Would you be interested in that, or would it take more? Would the expansion have to be something above and beyond what you're already ran? Like, maybe it would have to be a let's jump fast forward to The Mandalorian, right? Maybe an Imperial Remnant Stormtrooper box, and they look just like normal Stormtroopers, but maybe in the art they're dirtier, so you paint them with a dirtier paint job, but you have the option of painting them clean and just having them pose as regular Stormtroopers. Like, maybe something like that is a better. So this way you buy the expansion, you get the models, but you can also run them as Imperial Remnant, and maybe they have some gameplay difference. that way. Like that. There's always like, would you rather it be something like that, or would you rather just have reprints as the option, or both? Would you rather them have both options? Keep in mind, I would expect if they just did a straight up hard plastic reissue of the basic Stormtroopers or Rebel Troopers or any of those soft plastic expansions, I would expect a price increase, not just because of the fact that the plastic is now improving and there's probably a new mold that goes into it, because that's definitely something to consider, but also gaming and products across the board are going up in price. And this is a super complicated thing that's just hitting the entire industry right now. Probably worth talking about in a whole nother video. But prices are just going up, and that's not any one company's fault. That's just a global issue right now. And it's for a big part of it is aftermath of the pandemic and all of the supply and flow and backlog issues that exist within the whole supply chain are really starting to domino effect into every industry, and that includes tabletop gaming. So costs are going to go up anyway. So keep that in mind. Like if you tack on an extra $5 or $10 on a box, that's already going to go up another $5 or $10. Hard plastic reissues could be a tough pill to swallow for some folks if they were thinking about that. I personally would love to have at least one full reissue of hard plastic Stormtroopers to paint up real nice and to really spend my time with, because when I originally did my Stormtroopers, they weren't. I was still learning, right? I was still learning, and I am always still learning. But I can look at some of the stuff that I've painted now, and then go back to those Stormtroopers and say, wow, the difference in technique and skill are very apparent. So I for one would really love that. But then there's other things that I wouldn't be as crazy about rebuying, right? The ATRT. Was another one and this was a very different approach, because here's a unit that, well, it's almost the same unit. Like the miniature is almost the same. It's just that driver that's different, right? And so the ATRT was in soft plastic for the Rebels, and then when the clones get theirs, it's in hard plastic, and it's a much better model. It actually had more posing options, so you could do a lot more with it. Clearly, the superior model right here. However, it wasn't really all that different. I had already had, 4 ATRTs, because when Legion first came out, we were trying all kinds of crazy stuff and trying to do grand army battles and going crazy. So I had a lot of ATRTs already, and I'm like, I don't really need more ATRTs. So like that kind of makes me think, wait, if they reissue everything, what are people who already have 6 units of Stormtroopers back from who've been playing since forever? What are people who already have 4 sniper squad strike team snipers and all the other stuff, or people who are already capped on special forces, people who are already maxed out on Wookiees, or people who have 4 Imperial Royal Guards to run with Palpatine, like his 3+1 entourage or something crazy like that. Are those folks gonna want to have to buy everything all over again? And then what do you do with your old stuff? So it could really complicate things. So I think, I think the answer going forward is it may be in some cases just a straight reissue, but I think in as many cases as possible, they'll try to make it a whole new unit that just has an alternate function of, oh, this also works as these guys. Like maybe if you had jetpack troopers, you could have them on a flight stand with a jetpack. But if you simply took off the jetpack and didn't use the flight stand, then maybe they could stand up just fine like normal Stormtroopers. Maybe you give them an alternate chest piece or something like that for each one, so you can build them as normal Stormtroopers, or you can use them as the new way or something like that. Maybe some people would even be crazy enough to magnetize them if they just wanted them to be normal Stormtroopers versus jet troopers or something, or some weird things. I think the helmets are different too, so maybe that's a bad example. But hopefully you can catch my meaning on where I'm going. I think in these 3 different examples, you're seeing different ways that they've kind of addressed, old units versus new units in the hard plastic when the old units were in the soft plastic. You get a whole different unit that if you wanted to be clever with, you could totally, take your driver off of the Rebel ATRT and pop him on the clone ATRT if you wanted to do that, if you were just a Rebel player. If you really like the Stormtroopers here, they're kind of showing you an example of how good they could get, or in the case of the Wookiees, you're going to get like maybe this is the best example, right? And of course you can't do this with everything, but giving you basically 2 units in one is a good way to go, and I think that's going to make people who are like myself already are maxed on Wookiees feel a whole lot better about having to rebuy Wookiees, because hey, at least I'm getting them for I'm getting them for the Republic now. I'm also getting two, like a whole bunch of upgrades and new ways to run my existing Wookiees. And so I'm not going to buy 3 more of these new packs, but I'll probably buy at least 1. And now I have the cards and the ability to run my existing Wookiees in different ways. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's video. If you liked what you saw, let me know in the comments. I'd love to chat with you guys more about it. Hop in my Discord and let's talk about it there. Let me know in the comments what you think. I will talk to you guys later. Stay tuned for more cool news. We should be getting some more of that Kashyyyk wave information soon. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing and help make this channel possible. I couldn't do it without your continued support, so thank you so much. If you're interested in learning more about that, check the links in the description below. I'll talk to you guys later, and thank you so much, and as always, have a great day.